Boa noite, bienvenidos to Sao Paulo, on the first round of the RTA F4 Championship. A mere 2 weeks ago, Dylan McClements crossed the finish line and claimed RTA history, becoming the youngest ever championship winner in the history of the series. And after a grueling LMP2 season with an updated homologation testing the drivers to their limits, he came out on top. As others faltered, the 14-year-old, having not yet sat his GCSEs, showed the coolness of a seasoned pro, taming the prototype and bringing home a well-deserved championship crown. It's Tuesday night. Where else would you be other than with us here in Gantry TV? And we return back to the country where we were those 2 weeks ago, back to the country of Brazil, the home of legendary sportsmen Pele, Kaká, and Ayrton Senna. This is a famous country and the first of 8 locations in the coming season in the RTA F4 Championship. So we start in Brazil, as we said. Then we move to a European leg. Donington Park is in amongst there. Silverstone. We have 2 races in America and, of course, others on the continent. But we start in South America, the first of 3 continents tonight, and to the city of Sao Paulo, the biggest in Brazil, founded 5054 with 7.8 million inhabitants and a time zone 3 hours behind us here in Ireland. You wouldn't think it, but it is only 3 hours. Of course, we go to the iconic Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace in this fine city of Sao Paulo. 4.3 kilometers long, 15 turns of this Grand Prix track. Valtteri Bottas setting the race lap record of a 110.5. And of course, the famous Senna S's moving down to the Curva do Sol. Pinheiro, Bica de Pato, and Juntao are the famous section of the final before you climb up and over the hill and back to the start finish line. Now, that time of 110.5 isn't a huge amount off what we will expect this evening in these F4 cars, these really fantastic pieces of machinery, of course, on the iRacing service. And while this city it isn't the one of Christ the Redeemer, of course, that being Rio de Janeiro, redemption is on the mind of the likes of Jason Smith and Jordan Kelly, trying to catch the young reigning championship winner McClements, and joined by 37 others for this bumper field once again here on RTA. So plenty of us here, for us here at Gantry TV to cast our eyes over. And we'll be hoping to catch up live with some of the drivers as they battle to be the latest to be added to the RTA Hall of Fame. So good evening, buem noche, and welcome to the latest broadcast of a brand new offering from us here at Gantry TV. It's myself, Kevin Galvin, joined by Evan Walsh, and with Ronan Hederman on the 1s and 2s in the background. And Evan, plenty of new faces joining us this season. Will they give our resident pace setters a run for their money?
Hi, Kevin. Plenty of new faces. I'm not Evan Walsh, by the way, but we'll cross that path when we come to it. It's a new era for RTA Virtual Motorsport. It's a new era for Gantry TV, and this should be absolutely fantastic. I think we have one of the best RTA seasons starting here tonight around a fabulous circuit that we literally just left. This is going to be high-octane action and some of the best.
Apologies, Evan Dalton, not Evan Walsh. I had Evan Walsh in my mind because we'll talk about him a little bit later on in the broadcast. But of course, Evan Dalton alongside me. Evan, my apologies.
It's the first time we've had my name in the bottom right corner as well, which is...
It's nice, isn't it? It's nice. The new overlay graphics, new intro. We'll have a couple of other bits and pieces for you over the course of the evening. And it's kind of a sense of a new kind of renewal of optimism. We're heading into spring. We have a new car this time. I think that one that sits a lot better with the drivers, Evan, and an absolutely stacked field. Now, you'll know a lot more about the new faces than I will. I suppose you'll be guiding us through as we hit into qualifying here. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we can expect from this evening later on. But yeah, I suppose a lot of kind of established real-world karting drivers joining us on the grid, and a bit of more of an international flavour as well.
Yes, we have a lot more international drivers, and you're absolutely correct in saying that this car will probably suit this field a lot more. Out of the 39 sign-ups, we have quite a few real-world racers, and they, of course, mostly drive single-seaters, with the exception of Brandon McCaughton, who's got his hands on LMP machinery from time to time. But here tonight, we have 35 drivers. It is, of course, an Irish-dominated grid, but there is a lot of different names. We have the Coopers returning, Jason Cooper and Luke Cooper. Jason Cooper, of course, a former RTA Virtual Motorsport champion. We'll talk more about them later. We have the returning favourites, Jamal Gandor, of course, bit of a fan favourite, I think, here at the Gantry TV box. We have Sergei Grabun as well returning. It's going to be good. We have a big bunch of cars here tonight, but I think that's exactly what this championship deserves. It's going to be very difficult to win this.
Yeah, huge changes in terms of the overall numbers. Once again, positive. Like just good to see the entries rising all the time, and just like up towards 40 entries again for the last 2 seasons. Obviously, the mid-season update in iRacing slightly made it more difficult for the LMP2 series. But we're hoping now this F4 championship will remain constant. And one thing that does remain constant here all the time at RTA is how we run our races and how the structure is for tonight. So let me give you a quick run through that structure as we always have here. It's not just the case that we've won big long race for this F4 championship. Race 1 is a 10-minute affair with the grid set by the qualifying you see in front of you. Then race 2 is 15 minutes with the grid set by race 1, and then in race 3 we take the top 8, we flip them around, and we do a 20 minutes all over again. So plenty of chances to win plenty of points. You get a stop and go penalty, or drive-through penalty, should I say, after 15x on the service, and a disqualification after 20x. Now that shouldn't come into play here, Evan, I should suspect. But with new machinery and with a busy, packed grid, plenty of adrenaline running, especially for those who are joining the series new or who are getting back to the series, in the case of maybe the likes of Sergei Grabin. So plenty of adrenaline out there. It's trying to keep cool, isn't it? I mean, when you start the season and try to pick up some early points.
Yeah, exactly that. And although the championship is not going to be decided this evening by any stretch of the imagination, a strong start is kind of necessary to put yourself on the right foot forward. As Kevin said, it's brand new machinery. We're in the F4 car here, which has a nice 1.4 litre Abarth engine on board, about 170 horsepower, with 0 to 100 or 0 to 60 miles in about 5 seconds, with a top speed of, that was very close to that wall, of 220 kilometers per hour. We start our qualifying session with, I suppose, how we ended the last one last season, looking at Dylan McClements, who goes top of the order with a 134.274. Jason Smith then just 0.2 of a second behind, with Rory O'Shea just 1/10 of a second behind that. Kevin, shall we maybe flex another little bit of a graphic in terms of Rory O'Shea?
Yeah, let's see what Rory's up to. He's set the first time, not the quickest time, but we're hoping to see if we can join in with Rory live and see what he's getting up to in that 81 machine. This is another feature that we're bringing in for Gantry TV this year, just to bring it closer to the drivers over the course of this season. As you can see, Rory in the background there trying to muscle his 81 machine around there. Lovely little Formula rig, and you can see the Fanatec Club Sport shifter there on the right as well. No sponsors here, of course, but just interesting to see the gear there. A piece of machinery I have at home myself. It's not being currently used, but it is there. So yeah, Rory muscling that 81 machine around, as you can see. And it is really great, Evan, isn't it, to kind of get a first-hand picture of what these guys are doing. I love that angle that Rory has as well. Like, you can literally see the hands first. Like, it's all about what the wheel is doing. He's not even that bothered about seeing himself, but it's really all about how he kind of works his way around. You can see the force feedback and even adjusting there on the steering wheel on the fly. I wonder, is he adjusting brake bias as he heads into the Senna S?
Yeah, I absolutely love driver cameras in sim racing. I just think it brings a new level of immersion we don't really get to see the emotions portrayed from the drivers from time to time because we don't have team radio, we don't have any of that sort of thing. So I think the driver cams really, really make a difference, and you can just see how focused they are when they're frustrated. And a big thanks, of course, to all the drivers who are setting up their face cameras for us to bring you the action here on Gantry TV. So currently 17 drivers who have set laps. Still Dylan McClemens quickest of the bunch. Then it is O'Shea who you saw go to second. Smith in third, followed by Brandon McCaughan. Jason Cooper then in fifth with Sean McGoldrick in sixth. Kevin Joyce in seventh ahead of Logan Hoy, TJ Taffin and Luke Cooper rounding out the top 10. Logan Hoy in eighth, of course, is the defending race winner around here. He won heat number 3 in the LMP2 Cup last season, and Logan is looking maybe to defend his race win. It's a tough ask, but Logan impressed us in that race, maybe after the opening lap, and showed that if he gets in front and he gets a sniff of a chance, he might well take it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's that was a spin there from the man himself. I think we're looking at
First one of the season, folks.
Yeah, we started as we mean to go on. No, it's to be fair to Logan, like he does get a lot of stick from us, but as I think a lot of drivers do, I think anybody who saw the intro there will know that mistakes are rarely forgotten. But yeah, you could just need to ask Brian McManus that. But you know, like it is fantastic to see Logan doing so well, especially coming off the back of that last one. And like, to be fair to him, that's what I love about this, the way the races are brought out, and the kind of the format that we have here. We'll show it up on the screen for you again in a second, just to remind you of what we have this evening. But like the fact that the qualifying sets for race one sets for race 2, and then the top 8 switch. I love that reverse grid. It gives you a superb chance to see exactly what is kind of going on. And as we said, Evan, before, it encourages that racecraft because you can qualify fast, you can win race 1, you can finish high in race 2, but then that puts you in 7th or 8th, and you have to battle through the top of the leaders. And in fairness to Logan, he finished in and around that 7th, 8th position last time. Started on pole, and from there kind of didn't look back, which is just as well, because if he had looked back, he would have seen absolute carnage on that race start.
Yeah, it makes the quicker drivers work for their points, I suppose. You can pick up 30 points in race 1 and race 2 by just driving at the front and not having any issues, but you've really got to work for it in race 3. If you want to take a hat-trick, which is something that we deem to be quite illustrious, you really got to work for your points. Jason Smith currently the quickest in qualifying, only man in the 133s. For Jason last season, it was just the 1 pole position, but of course 6 wins and 12 podiums. So he'll be looking to start the season off the pole here tonight and equal that tally from last season. Ronan Doherty just slots himself into second. He, of course, was the king of qualifying once again last season, as he kind of always is, with 4 pole positions. He took 4 the last time we were in a single-seater championship in the Formula Vs as well. There was a car gone round at turn number 1. Not sure who that is. Tonight, of course, is a night for myself and Kevin to get used to the new liveries as well.
Yeah, and it's always great to see what people run, like Logan running the KFC one. There's a few different people running different ones. I think the McClemens are a little bit mixed up. I believe insider information is that I don't know, are they attempting to try and confuse us? But Sean says our cars, I think you said, Dave, and he said to you that our cars are so similar, Dylan's name is even on mine.
No, his name is actually on Dylan's.
His name is on Dylan,
which is definitely on purpose.
I think Sean's doing everything he can to try and have a championship-winning car with his name on it. Whether it's his brother driving it or not, it's a championship car with his name on it. But yeah, for Jason Smith, definitely an opportunity. As I said in the intro, at Redemption, there's another great one. That's Sean McGoldrick with the Duff Beer 33 car. There, love Sia Simpson's reference. I remember, and Ronan, our broadcast director, might recall whose it was. I have a funny feeling it may have been Sergey Grabin, but I could be wrong. But somebody was running for a while a Mr. Sparkle livery, the old Homer Simpson Mr. Sparkle dishwasher. I would love to know who that was. Maybe it was Richard Murphy. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody anyway. do get into the comments. Let me know, because I know there's people who are long-time RTA watchers and they might remember this. Thanks to everybody as well who's joined us in the comments. Max Horler is cheering on Phil Upson, and Phil says avoiding carnage is my only hope. That is true, as it is with everyone else. Jordan Kelly again noting a 35-car grid tonight, so plenty of liveries and plenty of people for myself and Evan to get used to. Thanks again to Johnny Hollywood for joining us, our glorious overlord and party leader Rob Parks is in as well. He is being politically retrained in the good land of China. So we will look forward to him returning at some point. I just Evan coming here as well. EVN coming in and saying, I remember the Mr. Sparkle skin, but I can't remember who it was. So that's a call out now. I'd love to see if anybody can remember who ran that Mr. Sparkle skin. I have a feeling it was a Porsche Cup car, but I could be wrong. But it was a superb skin. So I love seeing those, Evan.
That's the actual Evan Walsh, by the way, Kevin, just in
Oh
case
yeah,
you missed him so much. Yeah.
oh yeah, that's great. Would he ever come back as well, Evan? By the way, will you come back and race? Because we're missing having you on the old streams. And Evan Walsh, Evan Dalton, Evan Walsh got some excellent news recently. I mean, I'd say excellent news. It's not like he's expecting a baby. He's had to work for it, but he has been he's had a great result recently.
Yes, I believe Evan Walsh will be back in a real racing car this season. He won't necessarily be just doing Gran Turismo 5 on his PC. I think Evan is going to be driving a Fiesta next season in Mondello Park, thanks to, I think it was a scholarship program that ran, I want to say last weekend, but it was a weekend in this year. It was last weekend, I'm just hearing from Ronan. So a big congratulations to other Evan. It's great to see the name doing so well in motorsport.
Yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. It's a great name, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
If
absolutely.
I had a K in front of it, it would probably be even better. But it
Hey.
is, and it is great to see Evan doing well. He's like such a, I don't know if legend is the word you would use, but just stalwart of RTA and VRA, and a lovely fella to boot. And he's not the only quick driver currently in tip at the moment, because Jordan Kelly's also in Tipperary. So maybe the two of them have gotten a hotel room for the night and are watching us on from that. So great to see the two lads. Thanks a million for joining us.
And it is a long way to Tipperary for Jordan Kelly, actually. That's because he's from Donegal. Terrible joke, I just wanted to get the song in, really. Fun fact, Evan Walsh has a corner named after him in Mondello Park. Google it, folks. Walsh's Corner. It comes up. In our qualifying session, Jason Cooper, though, has just improved to 10th position over Brandon McCaughton, but it's the other Jason Smith, who is top of the order. Robbie Callahan putting in a brilliant performance there in second with a 134.1. We're seeing a lot of slipstreaming up the hill and down towards the centre S's. That's quite crucial around this track. I've been told it's worth about 3 to 4 tenths of a second on that straight alone. Due to the high altitude of this circuit, of course, the engines usually run at about 80%. That's in Formula 1. It might be slightly different in these F4 cars, but slipstream is definitely an advantage if you can get it. And we're seeing Robbie Callahan pick up one from one of the back markers there. There's Dara Halley, another new driver for this season, crossing the line and currently in ninth, beating a newcomer in RTA in the former Brandon McCaughton, but certainly a front runner and a former RTA champion. So it's not a bad start to your RTA campaign.
No, absolutely not. And I do think it's going to be a case of old versus new, as we see how Castro, unfortunately, showing the new guys still getting to grips with the track, despite his Portuguese name. He doesn't necessarily, he's not necessarily getting on with the track in the land of Portuguese as well. But yeah, it's really going to be a case of old versus new. And I do get a sense that these guys, the new guys, they're going to get their way into this new format. They're going to feel their way into it, and they'll start to adapt to it. And maybe mightn't be the first race or the second race, but it might be after a couple of races they might get their teeth into it and start to get used to it, and then you might see the tactics coming out a little bit more. What I love about this format is because there's so many points up for grabs each race that you're not necessarily always looking to outright dive bomb every single opportunity. And the guys that do that might work for them once or twice, but over the course of the season, they will get found out. As Dylan showed us last season, despite the fact that he's only 14, he was so controlled, so measured, so tactical about everything. he really showed as a great example of somebody who, he won 1 or 2 races over the course of the season last year, but he just finished so consistently high that he was able to win the championship. But his main championship rival for most of last season, Jason Smith, tops the timing table.
Yes, it is Jason Smith on pole position by 0.2 over Robbie Callaghan, and Ronan Doherty and Rory O'Shea will round out the second row. Brandon McCaughan then improving in the dying M's to 5th, ahead of Sean McClements in 6th, who beats his brother to start the season in 7th. Conor Melia in 8th, ahead of Sean McGoldrick in 9th, and then it will be Dara Halley in 10th position. Jason Cooper ahead of Joel Castro in 12th, Theo Lestrange in 13th, with Kevin Doyle in 14th spot. Last season's most improved driver Kevin Joyce will start 15th, Simon Hutchings in 16th, and Brian McCarthy in 17th. It'll then be Sergei Graban in 18th, ahead of TJ Taff in 19th, and Luke Cooper down in 20th position. Then at the back of the order, it is Logan Hoy in 21st. Dermot Toomey will start as 22nd, with Andrew Murphy in 23rd. Tony Stack starts in 24th, ahead of Emma Dempsey in 25th. Peter Burke will start in 26th position, just ahead of Joshua Henry in 27th. It's then Phil Upson, Jacob Hobbs, Martin McGonigal, Jamal Gandor, David Prunty, Findlay Melvin, Jared Thornton, and to round out the grid is Rich Murphy, with no time coming from the bottom 3. Standing starts once again, Kevin, so this is quite a crucial launch off the line.
Yeah, well, we would just try and forget about the last start that we had here at Interlagos, so we'd hopefully have a good start to kick us off on the first round of the RTA F4 Championship. But to start us off, Evan, I'll leave it over to your very capable hands.
Yes, this should be a good one. It's not often you see cars backed all the way through the Cleveland Canadas here at the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pachu. It's Jason Smith on pole position with Robbie Callaghan alongside him in the front row. Keep an eye on Doherty as well in 3rd. He is usually very quick at standing starts in a single seater. Keep an eye on Sean McClements as well in 6th. He is known for the odd jump start. Hopefully he doesn't get it wrong here right away in Brazil. The lights are coming on our screens. Look but don't stare, and for the first time here in the RTA Virtual Motorsports F4 Championship, we go racing at Brazil. It's a great start from Robbie Callaghan, immediately tucking into the slipstream and trying to defend from Ronan Doherty. Doherty gonna look to send it down the inside. Robbie Callaghan has a great run alongside Jason Smith, but Smith's gonna be able to defend in towards the centre S's. McClements getting past McCaughan for 5th, so he has got it right, and there is a big accident in the background. I believe Jason Cooper is involved in it. Martin McGonigal's gone dropping down the order as well. Logan Hoy losing some positions, but it is an immediate spin and an immediate collision.
Yeah, Jason Cooper, the huge one missing out there. He's down 19 positions. Dara Halley down 22 as well. So huge implications already for the beginning of the season. Jason Cooper, one of the season's potential favourites, and an absolute disastrous start for him on the first lap of the championship, getting caught up in a mess. We'll hopefully go back and look at that on the replay soon, but I want to keep up with this because we have Robbie Callaghan right in the thick of it. He's had a superb qualifying, Robbie, and he's trying to fend off now Ronan Doherty neck and neck as they go up through that tight section. Rory O'Shea right behind them in the High Prix number 81 car, and then behind him is Sean McClements. So a couple of DDR guys there, as we'd expect. Our championship, last year's championship, reigning championship winner, Dylan McClements, is in P7, but Jason Smith already a second up the road ahead of Ronan Doherty and in a commanding position as we cross the line for the first time this season.
Yeah, Halley, Grabham, Stack, Duke, McGonigal all involved in that early collision, but it is Jason Smith, the early leader, Ronan Doherty in 2nd, Robbie Callaghan in 3rd. Robbie was fantastic late season in the Formula V, so continuing on that strong single-seater form, but he's under attack from Rory O'Shea, who's going to dive it down the inside in towards the centre S's, and Callaghan has got it all wrong and running very wide. Might be under pressure from Sean McClements as well. McClements using the green and yellow curb, I should say, to his advantage, running right along that and getting an inside line. Brandon McCaughan looking to slipstream him as well in the number 69 car. Dylan McClements is looking to try and get past. Robbie Callaghan's going to lose potentially 3 positions here as McCaughan right alongside. Callaghan has to run a tad bit wide just over the track limits, and Brandon McCaughan is able to get through.
Yeah, and in the land of Ayrton Senna, Brandon McCaughan elbowing his way through in an old Ferrari livery. So those certainly weren't the fans' favourite when Senna was running in McLaren. But nowadays, you see so many Ferrari flags out at Interlagos. here in Sao Paulo, and you can see the Michael Schumacher almost-esque era Ferrari swapping now back down to the inside, and that's a really, really good move from McGahan. Tried to go outside and inside, couldn't make it stick, but some ferocious racing already as we're only 2 laps into this F4 championship. These guys have to be careful though, Evan. It's easy to say that, you know, you want to get tight and you want to battle hard, but you also have to be considerate of the fact that last time these guys were battling, we were talking about LMP2s, they can take a little bit more damage. They're built for endurance. These open wheelers, you have to be so careful because the slightest touch and you can destroy your suspension and ruin your race. And speaking of ruined races, it'd be great to go back and have a look at that incident that took out Jason Cooper, because that was an absolutely massive one. Oh, there's a bit of a touch there from McGahan on the back of Robbie Callahan, but Callahan, to his credit, is doing a great job, but now has traffic to contend with as they come out of the pit lane. We'll have a look at why some of those are leaving the pit lane right now, Evan.
Yeah, let's have a look. We're looking at Dara Halley in the 802. That's the purple car you can see there. That says Sean McGoldrick running on the inside. A little bit of contact made there. Halley was spun round, and then, oh no, Jason Cooper drove straight into the scene of the accident, and there was not a lot the other guys could do. When you have a car spin through a fast section in what is almost a 40-car grid, you probably expect a little bit of debris and a couple $100,000s of damage anyways across the circuit. Brandon McCaughan in 6th as well. Remember, last season didn't finish outside the top 10 in any race that he did. In a couple of those races, made a few mistakes, maybe got into a little bit of contact, ended up down the order, was able to work his way back through in a grid that is such as talented and such as big as this. He's not going to get away with stuff like that, so has to be very careful in picking the right overtaking maneuver.
Absolutely. This is the thing, like, you know, before, I know some of the races we saw grid sizes of 15 or 16, and if you have an accident in those, you can still make your way back. You can still make a couple of places back and finish in the top 10, and even potentially get into the top 8 in the final race and have a push from the start. Again, you almost get not a free pass. You still have to work for it, but it's a lot easier with shorter grids. With this now, the minute you're in an accident, you're left behind. And unfortunately for Jason Cooper, he was just arrived at the scene of an accident. He had nothing to do about it. And at the end, I thought we had more than enough F4s in the grid without 2 of them trying to create another one. But it is a really unfortunate incident. Just the slightest tap from Sean McGoldrick, and really, you can't blame either driver in that circumstance. Just good hard racing. But unfortunately, as I said, with the open wheelers, they're so susceptible, they're so sensitive to, you know, so aero dependent as well, that the minute the aero is thrown off, you get spun around. Very, very hard to try and save it. And then obviously on the opening lap coming out of the Senna S's down the hill, you're just looking at the entire grid coming after you, and that must have been an absolutely frightening experience. I would not want to do that in VR, I can tell you that much. As we're on board with Rory O'Shea, and I don't know if we can actually go back on board with Rory O'Shea just to see how he's faring here in the High Prix 81 car. Here he is now, Rory, a face of concentration on him as he's trying to hold on to that second place position. Second place for Rory would be a fantastic start to the season. Usually very quick, Rory, but obviously we have some lightning drivers in this grid, so Rory doing a fantastic job of holding his own in these F4 cars. And for some of these guys, Evan, which is the beauty of how the RTA is run, some of them love the open wheelers and some of them prefer the closed wheel stuff, and there's a bit of both for everybody.
I know one thing Rory O'Shea loves, and that is Interlagos, because he got a podium here in LMP2 as well, one of his 6 for the season, and he is lapping very quick indeed. Since he's got ahead of Ronan Doherty, he's now starting to close in Jason Smith at the front of this order, and Rory O'Shea would love to take a win here. He's not won since the Super Formula Light season, and that, in all honesty, feels like 4 or 5 years ago at this point. I know it was the start of last year at some point, but it must feel like an age if you've not won a race since then. Here's Kevin Joyce we're looking at, defending from one of the newcomers. That is Theo Lestrange, a Carter from Dublin, and he's forced Kevin Joyce into a bit of a mistake. Joyce runs a little bit wide. You can see wipes off a bit of sweat from the forehead. And Kevin Joyce, aware that he's had a little bit of an oopsie there, runs off track and loses 10th position.
Yeah, Kevin sporting the Simhound gloves there as well. Good to see them. They're a little manufacturer over in the UK that we had a chance to meet at Sim Expo, which is where this all began, the Gantry TV idea. But yeah, I mean, not to love to see that in the fact of Kevin going off, but that little reaction from Kevin, you really get that sense. That's the beauty of the Sim racing community, is that you actually get to see the expressions on the drivers' faces. You get to see what they're feeling and how they're feeling as things happen. And unfortunately for Kevin, but fortunately for us watching on, at that little instant, we got to see it right up close and personal. And unfortunately for Kevin, down to P11, but still a good result. And this is the thing, with such a big grid, you really need to try and just get the best result you kind of possibly can over the course of the couple of races, because there will be people crash out. There will inevitably be dark horses that will come out of nowhere and win the occasional race. So it's going to be a big difference. Ask for some of your predictions in the comments as we get down towards the last couple of laps here on board with the leader, Jason Smith, who's weaving left and right down that straight. It's the longest straight in Interlagos, but it's not necessarily the quickest straight in Interlagos, interestingly enough. Johnny's prediction is that the first driver across the line will likely win. Thank you very much, Murray Walker, for that. Evan Walsh is tipping Dylan McClements to win it. Johnny actually says he's going to call it for Ronan Doherty. Evan says, great to see Emma Dempsey back on the grid again. Grace McCallan also saying it's nice to see another woman to share the grid with. So yeah, great to see more female drivers. We're looking at Emma there in the number 8 EDR Motorsport car. We're seeing a lot of them competing in Mondello, particularly in the Fiestas over the last couple of years. And it's brilliant to see some of them joining us here on RTA, and some seriously rapid peddlers as well. So more of that, please, and thank you. As we probably, Evan, are heading into the last lap with Jason Smith still ahead of Rory O'Shea. Rory's putting up a tremendous fight here, but Jason, he has the bit between his teeth after last year.
Certainly does, but he's not pulling away from Rory O'Shea. Rory is catching Jason. Oh my word, that's close to the pit wall. That would not be the way to endure a race anyways. It would be a ferocious collision if it was to happen in real life. Thankfully, we're on the simulator, but Jason weaving just to get rid of that slipstream. Dylan McClements is fighting with Robbie Callaghan. That is Callaghan sporting his traditional and infamous tricolour livery. Dylan McClements running the same livery as his brother Sean. There's a lot more weaving happening at the front of this grid, and this is Rory O'Shea's opportunity to go for the race lead. Pivots to the outside, heading through turn number 4 and 5, and Jason Smith has made a mistake. He's ran a little bit wide. We saw a similar mistake from Kevin Joyce just a few laps ago. Here comes Rory O'Shea, trying it round the outside through turn number 6 and 7. This is a difficult move. He's got to try and keep all the grip he can to not allow Ronan Doherty to slip up his inside. Doherty absolutely has. O'Shea on the outside of the corner. Oh, huge slide. Cracking save. Doherty gets a little bit of a nudge, runs wide.
Oh, I'd love Rory O'Shea's absolutely done spectacularly well to hold on to that. Not only hold on to the car, but hold on to second position, because funnily enough, I mean, as an opportunity, it presents itself. So too can it present itself an opportunity for the other drivers as well, as Rory almost got overtaken by both O'Doherty and McClements over with the Team DDR cars. It looks like Jason Smith is just about to hold on. But there is a train of F4s behind him, which are battling ferociously. Look at that group of Robbie Callahan, Dylan McClements, and Brandon McGahan. But we're going to stay with Jason Smith, who takes the opening race here of the RTA for season number 3 wide, going across the line. We'll need a photo finish for that one, as it looks like Robbie Callahan is just taking it from Dylan, who's ahead of Brandon McGahan, and another 2 to the line as we see Luke Cooper, his brother Jason, unfortunately not doing so well, but he just about finishes behind. Brian McCarthy has another incident involving Logan Hoy on the final corner, and that's been very unfortunate. That was actually between Logan and Jason. Speaking of Luke Cooper, his brother Jason, one of 2 brothers driving, and we will see what happens as they cross the line here. Logan's going to finish in the pit lane, unfortunately, which means he'll finish behind. You know what? There was so much brilliant racing,
to be fair.
and unfortunately, Sergei Grabin, who was one of the drivers, will be on board. Hopefully, we'll be able to watch him as he nurses his number 5 slow and confused car across. And Sergei is indeed wearing the Viora headset this evening in Luxembourg, I believe he's based at the moment, spent 11 years in Ireland, originally from Vilnius. And poor old Sergey limping around Interlagos, but I imagine probably needing to take a few breaths, having been involved in that lap one incident in Vior. As another fan's favourite in RTA long time, Jamal Gandor finishes his race as well. So, Evan, not a lot of time for you to go through the classified results because we have a lot of drivers on the grid, but here are your provisional results for Heat 1 of Round 1 of the RTA F4 Championship.
Right, let's rally through this one then. Jason Smith takes the win ahead of Rory O'Shea in second, Doherty in third, followed by Sean McClements, Robbie Callaghan, Dylan McClements, Brandon McCaughton, Sean McGoldrick, Conor Melia, Teal Lestrange, Kevin Joyce, TJ Taft, Brian McCarthy, Luke Cooper, David Prunty, Ken Doyle, Andrew Murphy, Dermot Toomey, Emma Dempsey and Phil Upson in 20th place. Then in 21st it's Jared Thornton, followed by Jason Cooper, Simon Hutchings, Jacob Hobbs, Rich Murphy, Joshua Henry, Joao Castro, Jamal Gandor, Logan Hoy, Tony Stack, Dara Halley, Sergey Grabun, Martin McGonigal, Finley Melvin and Peter Duke, who finished 7 laps down. We're immediately back on the grid for race number 2. There's no time to wait here in the RTA Virtual Motorsport F4 Championship, and the 5 lights are coming on immediately. It is Smith on pole position once again, but he's joined by Rory O'Shea in second. Wasn't able to take his chance in race number 1. Can he do it here in race number 2 as we go racing in Interlagos once again? That's a cracking start from Ronan Doherty, who's already up and alongside the high pre in towards turn number 1. Robbie Callaghan got off the line well, didn't get up the gears well though, and has lost the position to, I believe, Sean McClements in 4th place. Jason Smith for the NS's cleanly. Seems like we're a little bit more clean further back. Teal Lestrange getting a spot on Conor Melia. Brandon McCaughton looking to try and attack Dylan McClements down towards turn number 4 and 5 once again. Rounding the back of the field, you can see it is all safely through. Jason Cooper's got a cracking start. He's up 4 positions just ahead of Dermot Toomey in 18th.
Yeah, it's very clean to begin with. I hope I don't I'll regret saying that, but a very clean start from all the grid thus far. Fair play to them, because it is very difficult to get down on cold tyres, of course, in these F4 machines into the first set of corners. Johnny Hollywood has again gone for Ronan Doherty. He's in 3rd place at the moment in the team DDR 29 car. TJ Taft we're looking with now, and P16, he's in sporting a Red Bull livery. Try and remember that, commit that to memory. Joshua Henry's in the sky blue and black. And then next to him is Logan Hoy, I believe, in the KFC car. There's a little bit more brakes, tyres, of course. ABS doesn't come as standard on these. So you do have to be careful how you apply your braking, especially, as I said, on cold tyres. As Logan Hoy goes for a move there in the background on Joshua Henry, and the two of them battling. Josh going back down up the inside as Rory O'Shea again putting Jason Smith under serious pressure here, Evan. And look at that, those pile of F4 cars queuing up to take top spot.
Yeah, Jason Smith once again, very, very impressive defensive effort. Just diminishes the attempt from Rory O'Shea. A little bit further back, Joshua Henry, Logan Hoy. That's a fight we saw in the real world last season. Of course, boat racing in the ICCR Junior Mini Challenge. Joshua taking the championship, Logan taking 2nd position. I think Finley Melvin was in the Stewart Grand Prix livery and Tony Stack in the Jordan. So that's a classic late 90s Formula 1 fight going on back there. Jason Cooper has just dispatched Ken Doyle, so he's now behind his brother in 15th position. That's a little bit of a Inter-Swift Cooper fight there. Jason Smith just defending Rory O'Shea. We're side by side for 13th though, and this is Brian McCarthy. Oh, sorry, it's for 12th actually, looking to get past TJ Taft in towards the left-hander, and you can see Jason Cooper barreling down the inside of his brother Luke Cooper. I think Lucas just led him through. That has touches of the McClements late last season. So brotherly love continuing. McCarthy and Taft still side by side. Lestrange and Goldrick side by side further up in front.
Yeah, some really good racing there, and as you said, it's great to have 2 pairs of brothers on the grid. Great to have that connection. We've seen Dylan and Sean often hop into us in interviews, so it would be nice to have a chat to the 2 Cooper brothers side by side at some point over the course of this season. Robbie Callaghan has had a brilliant race thus far. Definitely a shout for driver of the day, as somebody who's really massively done well in the F4s. But of course, this man, Jason Smith, battling now with Rory O'Shea. They go toe to toe, quite literally. And should I say Jason diving down the inside. Was that wheel smoke I saw off that 26 machine? Rory now is all over his rear wing, and you can see now Rory trying to move in the outside. Let's stick with Rory here on board. You can see as he's on the gloves are on, and they might soon be off here with Jason Smith as Jason dives down the inside. Rory goes around the outside, which opens up the door for Ronan Doherty. He has Sean McClements as well as a wingman, so the two DDR boys ganging up on the high pre car with Jason Smith out in the lead as a privateer. So let's see if Rory can make something stick down the inside as you get into the section. It is a tricky circuit to overtake, and there are certain overtaking spots. Certainly the Sen S is the opening corner there, and down towards T number 4 at the end of the long straight there is a great opportunity to overtake there, but a lot of this section is very difficult. You kind of have to go out to in and things swap back and forth, so it's hard to make a move stick. You can get down the inside, but then all of a sudden you're stuck on the outside as we look at Robbie Callan. Unfortunately, some cars in the background. Oh, as Robbie forces somebody off wide there. That's the Dylan McClements, our reigning championship winner, forced out wide there to the 14-year-old. That's not fair. Is that considered bullying? I'm not sure. I'm sure Dylan is well able for it, though. He seems like a very capable young man. But yeah, instant there. It just seemed to be a big instant down the field, but we're going to keep it with the front here because the two of these guys are going toe-to-toe again. We are literally 2 by 2 as we cross the line, and Sean McClements almost having a massive moment there, but doing a brilliant job to contain it. But now he falls into the clutches of Brandon McCann, as we see another gaggle of cars, including Robbie Callahan in the background. Sean McGoldrick is there, Theo Lestrange is there, Conor Melia is there. So all going on in the top 10.
Really, really exciting stuff. Rory O'Shea just can't find a way past Jason Smith. It's really been a cracking defensive performance by Smith. Usually we see him impressive on the offensive, and sometimes not so impressive on the offensive, but he's putting up a really solid defensive effort here. And that's Robbie Callahan, who has lost a couple of places after what seemed to be a little bit of contact with Dylan McClements. Dylan now in 6th, Robbie now down to 9th, behind Homer Simpson, aka Sean McGoldrick, in 8th position. I think Brian McCarthy lost a lot of places in that big crash. There's been a couple of big gainers from the back of the field as well. Tony Stack is up 15, Sergey Grabin is up 16, as is Martin McGonigal and Finlay Melvin. They're all up 16, but Dermot Toomey and Emma Dempsey both losing 13 places would indicate to me that they've had some form of issue. 6 minutes down out of the 15 here in the second heat, and that is too many cars in the pit lane for mid-race.
Yeah, too many. We might have a chance to go back and have a look at that. We've kind of been so full of on-track action. We don't want to do an F1 director on it and cut away. And there is Jamal Gandor in the 25 Simsa Esports, just taking a bit of a break. I know those LED lights in the background, I think, would cause me to have a conniption. Just taking a bit of time out. Jamal, he might have a cup of tea there while he's waiting in the pits, but just chilling. Doesn't look overly impressed with how his race has gone thus far, but we might have an opportunity to go back and look at that. Even we might look at it between races, because I don't know, Evan, are we going to get an opportunity to... Okay, we can't do that, says broadcast director Ronan. You can do an awful lot of things, can Ronan, but unfortunately that's not one of them. So we're going to have to come back to it at some point over this race, but we can't do it at the moment because there's so much going on. And Evan, I don't know if we're actually going to get a chance to come to it in the next 8 minutes, because it is all action on track here at Interlagos.
I know last season some of the B races were slightly dull, as that is lap traffic running wide, not Jason Smith, Jason in the blue and white car in front. Some of the B races in LMP2 are quite boring. This one's certainly making up for it. So that is a little bit of lap traffic getting out of the way. That's the number 38 of Jacob Hobbs getting out of the way, the young Carter from the United Kingdom. We haven't even really got a chance to speak about some of the newcomers, given how action-packed this has been, but Ronan Doherty's got a great run on Rory O'Shea here up the hill, and he's really going to look to capitalise on this opportunity. O'Shea's just made a couple of mistakes, has fallen out of the second from Jason Smith, so it's now going to be Ronan Doherty's turn to lead the charge and try overtake Smith for the race lead, and more importantly the 30 points on offer here in the second heat. We're on board with Sean McClements then, who might be looking for the move on Brandon McCaughan in front. Sean McClements has been the quicker of the two McClementses today. I know we were speaking about Dylan before the broadcast, or sorry, before the races and during qualifying, but Sean has been quite quick this evening.
Sean scrapping for his Formula V life here so that his car doesn't get given to his brother. So Sean desperate trying to keep up the pace and show the team
I did a
DDR
great
and
job.
indeed why he needs to hold on to this. I reckon for Rory O'Shea, I saw a little bit of a slide that he managed to catch earlier on. I wonder, are his tyres gone off as we see 3 wide? Ken Doyle in the middle of that and a touch on that, and the Benson and Hedges car of Jared Thornton facing the wrong way. Unfortunately, it's a beautiful livery, but Jared is going to potentially now leave without a wing. No, he manages to just about keep the wing on that 34 machine as we go from old to new. TJ Taff in the Red Bull livery trying to hold off Robbie Callahan, but I wonder, are Rory's tyres gone off a little bit? Of course, here in iRacing notorious for tyres overheating and difficult to cool them down. So I wonder for Rory, does this kind of suit maybe running behind Ronan Darley, having a marker in front of him gives him an opportunity just to follow the lines, just to not have to push too hard, maybe cool the tyres and then launch a late attack as we tick towards the final 5 minutes of this second heat here on the opening round of the RTA F4 Championship. And an F4 Championship that has started explosively, Evan, as we see again Rory and Ronan going at it.
Yes, Rory just backing off. It's quite a smart approach from Rory O'Shea in terms of picking up strong points, but I think he just has to be a little bit braver if he wants to try and make the move. Speaking of course, Sean McClements and his Formula V endeavours, if you want to stick a logo on that car, Sean McClements Racing at hotmail.com. Say no more, we'll move on. Kevin Joyce looking for the move on TJ Taff here, and he has got the move on TJ Taff. We once again look at Kevin Joyce, who of course was playing up to the camera a little bit earlier on. TJ Taff is now going to switch to the inside and try the move, and Kevin Joyce has to be very aware of that one. That's a great move from TJ Taff. Gets the job done as Kevin Joyce's livery, an old Formula 1 one as well. It's one of the BM, or no, it's an old Williams livery, sorry.
Yeah, it's an old Williams livery. I feel bad for Kevin because every time we cut to him, something bad happened to him. But
yeah, it's not very great.
But he does have a fantastic setup, and we do really, really appreciate all of the drivers who signed up to this. I'm glad that you decided to give out Sean McClement's email and not Dylan McClement's email, I'll be honest with you, Evan, because I don't think we can necessarily do that. But
what
Ronan,
are you suggesting of me?
I just
I'm trying to
why
get sponsorship for a car, not
giving out personal emails to some of the drivers on the list.
I also don't have Dylan McClements' email, just in case you think that's something I have in my possession.
Okay.
Just to clarify.
That's actually not where I was going with that at all, but I am glad you clarified. Rory trying to put pressure on Ronan, who is definitely the most of age of all the DDR drivers. That's a very polite way of saying he's the oldest. Jason Smith leading by 0.3 of a second. Now that we have a little bit of a lull, is it possible to go back and have a look at that replay of the incident earlier down the field, or are we asking for too much? Hopefully we are fantastic. Oh, look at it. Look at this from Ronan Hederman pulling it out of the bag. Okay, let's have a look at this. So gaggle of cars coming down, and wow, look at this gaggle. TJ Taff definitely is the one up the front there. We're looking at Diarmuid Toomey in the Apex twin racing car. Oh, and there's 3 cars. That's Emma in the middle, and Diarmuid losing his left wing. Oh, there's more in the background. Oh, that is absolute carnage in the background. I wonder, is that one of the one of the karting drivers that I had picked up earlier on? Josh Henry, maybe. I think that might have been, that was coming through late, but Emma was.
I think it was Diarmuid Toomey, Jacob Hobbs involved in it as well.
Joshua Henry was the one I was talking about. Josh Henry was the one who came flying through there, and Emma, of course, caught up on that. Unfortunately for Emma,
just fair play to Diarmuid Toomey for seeing his back left rear wheel totally destroyed and going for the Happy Grandeur approach and trying to carry on. That's quite impressive. Here comes Sean McClements going for the move on Brandon McCaughan in towards turn number 1. He's got a right run in the slipstream here, going to go for the outside line and try to make the move stick. These are running very close wheel to wheel, and thankfully Netco doesn't decide to rear its ugly head, and McClements tries it around the outside. There's a little bit of contact between the two. That's brave stuff to keep it down the inside for the second part of the Senna S's and in towards the Curva del Sol. Dylan McClements getting involved as well. Brandon McCaughan has to defend a barrage of Team DDR machines down towards the left-hander. It's Sean McClements on the very far outside. Dylan McClements in the middle. Brandon McCaughan keeps the inside line, and he's going to let the two brothers battle it out. Sean on the preferred outside line, it seems here. He'll have the inside for the next corner. Theo Lestrange is just sitting there behind, hoping something goes wrong in front potentially. He's going to actually commit to the inside line and try and make a move on Dylan. Theo Lestrange looking to put a Dylan McClements level impact on his debut performance potentially here, and he's been really impressive. Trying it round the outside for 6th position. It's not going to work out this time, but that is great racing between all 4.
Yeah, and you can see these guys have just grown up with this. Like, you can see that these guys have such a good pedigree of driving. Their racecraft is absolutely second to none. And we talked at the beginning, at the top of the show, about, you know, old versus new, like the kind of long-term guys against the new runners. Obviously, we're looking at the likes of Jason Smith, Ronan, Rory, long-time drivers in the OTA series. But then you have the likes of Brandon, and as we look on board with Theo Lestrange, this man in the 27 car, the new guys are able to shake it up too. And I think when they get used to this new format, when they get used to the style of driving, when they get used to these cars, we're going to see a really, really fascinating open championship, the likes that we haven't seen. And Brandon McGaughan, no, that was a huge accident. Oh no, Brandon McGaughan getting it all kinds of wrong on the inside corners, coming back across track, taking out Sean McClements, who then in turn takes out Dylan. And unfortunately, the big winner in that is the number 27 of Theo Lestrange. He seems to have avoided that contact, and he lives to fight another day. Obviously, Conor Melia now moving up to 5th position. Jason Cooper in 6th, which is a superb drive from Jason Cooper considering where he started this race. Sean McGoldrick in 7th, but unfortunately, Brandon and Sean and Dylan as well, big losers in that one, Evan.
I don't know how Theo Lestrange has got through that. He's a very impressive young karter. He's having a great race here in the sim. I didn't know he was Harry Houdini on top of that. That is quite something to get through there. But we do have a fight on our hands. It seems like Jason Smith might be able to just take it. We are on the last lap, of course, here in Interlagos. Seems like my screen has gone black, Kevin.
Yeah, we're hoping to go to a replay.
Oh, here we go. Sorry.
There's Theo. Oh, that's superb.
Oh, that's very good.
Theo Lestrange. That is the best earned 1x you will ever see in your life, ladies and gentlemen. That is the most valuable 1x you will ever see. As we cut back to Jason Smith, and he's about to cross the line, Evan, to take yet another win.
2 from 2 for Jason Smith in F4s. It's only by a 1/10 of a second this time round. It's the same top 3 from race 1. Smith, O'Shea, Doherty, Theo Lestrange. Very impressive 4th place finish. Conor Melia in 5th. Jason Cooper recovers to 6th. That's a stellar drive, up 16 positions from where he started. Sean McGoldrick 7th. Robbie Callaghan will be your reverse pole man in 8th. Then it is Taff and Joyce who end their battle a couple positions higher in 9th and 10th. But the broth has boiled over for Team DDR. Both the McClementses making contacts, although neither was really their own fault.
Yeah, and it's very hard to blame Brandon McGaughan in that as well, because obviously there's so little track space there though, and you're kind of almost being forced to the inside. I mean, you would say that he may have made the mistake and got it wrong. I suppose it's up to our fantastic race stewards to look into that and see what they make of it. But for Rory O'Shea particularly, it's been a brilliant start to the season. Jason Smith, of course, with the 2 race wins, we expect him to be a championship contender. And look at that, like you see Rory, Ronan, and then Theo Lestrange. So a brand new name in that as well in P4, and well earned from Theo Lestrange as we see the last couple of cars crossing the finish line as we finish this Heat 2. And we'll hope to be joined by a few drivers. Evan, will I leave you have a chat with our double race winner, Jason Smith?
I can do, but I'm going to run you folks through the results first quickly. It is Jason Smith who takes the win, Rory O'Shea in 2nd, then it is Ronan Doherty, Theo Lestrange, Conor Melia and Jason Cooper. Sean McGoldrick finishes in 7th, just ahead of Robbie Callaghan, TJ Taft, Kevin Joyce, Luke Cooper, Sergey Grabun, then Tony Stack, Finlay Melvin, Phil Upson, Martin McGonigal, Brandon McCaughton, Brian McCarthy, Simon Hutchings and Ken Doyle. Then it is Dylan McClements, Logan Hoy, Jared Thornton, Joshua Henry, David Prunty, Joel Castro, Sean McClements, Dermot Toomey, Jacob Hobbs, Emma Dempsey, Rich Murphy, Andrew Murphy, Dara Halley, Jamal Gandor and Peter Duke. Let's hear from our 2-time race winner now, Jason Smith, who took both of this evening's heats so far. Jason, hello, can you hear me?
I can indeed.
Very impressive defensive effort from you to have what is pretty much a perfect start to the season.
Yeah, that's it. I knew coming in that I'd have the pace. I done done some testing the night before and that, so I was fairly confident going in. But again, like the slipstreams were about 6.5 to 6/10 here, but it makes for great racing. As you see, it was under pressure the whole time in boat races.
Yeah, it's safe to say that this machine is a little bit different from the LMP2.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, there's not as much dirty air really at all, and the tires don't go off, which is a really good thing. So it's literally just man and machine basically who can come out on top.
Of course, single-seater, something that you'd be a little bit more familiar with in your real-world racing endeavours. Is it safe to say you're happy to return to this sort of thing?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I didn't mind the LMP2, but yeah, this is the single seaters really suit me, especially this car. It moves around in the rear. The rear kind of turns it mostly, which I like. So
Jason, we're going to go or we'll let you get a quick breather before race number 3 with the reverse grid. Best of luck with that.
perfect. Thanks very much, guys.
Now, Kevin, time to hear from our man on the cam, Rory O'Shea.
I'm really looking forward to this because it's not very often we get to speak to interview a driver and actually get to see them. Rory, thanks a million for joining us. You're taking a bit of hydration on board there after what's been a fairly intense last 2 races.
You'd need it, like, especially racing the two lads. It's really, really intense stuff. Like, we're all so equal on pace, and the two of those lads are never known for being nice on track, so a lot of hard racing.
They're never known for being nice on track. Is it? That's a little bit of pry a little bit more into that.
Oh, well, I think the two lads, they're never going to give you an inch, really. Like, they will defend every inch of the track. Like, it's their last day on out, like, so it's so hard to get past them, especially Jason. Like, I had to run on him so many times and couldn't get past him. I think I only really got past Ronan after I just capitalised on his and Jason's battle.
So you're a 3-time RTA champ, of course, GT1s, Formula Renaults, and the Toyotas. So a little bit of a mix of both open wheel and closed wheel. But what do you prefer?
I definitely think the open wheels, like, it suits me the kind of downforce. I won a championship in these cars like a week ago as well. So I'm feeling good with these cars. I'm well practiced and I'm well experienced. So I think definitely the open wheel stuff.
And you love this track as well. You podiumed here last time. It is such an iconic track, and the toe is having a massive impact here.
Oh yeah, you can't get away from anyone really unless people make mistakes. Like, we had at least a 5-car train for the lead, which I'm sure will continue for the next one. I think there's anyone in the top 8 at the very least could win this race. Look.
Yeah, and you'll be starting. I mean, from your point, it's a good thing always to be starting down in the 7th and 8th because it means you've finished well in the other 2 races. But very best of luck in the feature, and no doubt we'll be speaking to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, great. I really it's lovely to actually speak and
so
see a
cool.
driver. It's so much nicer than just talking to them over the just normal Discord. But we do have one more to have a chat with. I'm not sure if his internet will allow for webcams, but we may be able to get him strong arm him at some point. But Evan, you might have a chat with Ronan Doherty.
Just quickly, Kevin, where is Ronan from?
Somewhere near where Dylan and Sean McClements are from. I'm gonna stick my neck in the line and say they're very close together.
Ronan, congratulations on the 2 podiums, P3 in boat races. Just quickly, what's your thoughts so far on this racing action?
I'm fairly happy, to be honest. I hopped on just tonight, hadn't done any practice, and seemed to have good paces. The only one sort of up there in quality that didn't get a toe, which is kind of my own fault. But yeah, I made a few mistakes in the races, but no, I'm pretty happy with my pace, all right.
Sorry, Evan, just before you come in there, I'm just going to add to that and say that Ronan Doherty is from the north.
Yes, he is. I sent you a pack with where he's from, by the way, Kevin. That's all I'm going to say. Ronan, we're not going to keep you much longer and let you get back to heat number 3. Myself and Kevin will keep arguing up here in the commentary box. Reverse grid then, it is Robbie Callaghan on pole position, Sean McGoldrick in 2nd, Jason Cooper 3rd, Conor Amelia 4th, Teola Strange 5th, Ronan Doherty 6th, Rory O'Shea 7th, Jason Smith 8th. That is very, very tasty.
Yeah, really tasty. Great to see Dunloy native Ronan Doherty.
Yes,
in
well
P6.
done, Kevin.
Well done. 29
now,
car.
can I just warn you, Sean McClemens is going to try correct that and say it's Ballycastle or something like that. He always gives me this guff, but look, just run.
Okay, Ballycastle is County Donegal, am I right in saying? If memory serves me correctly, I'm pretty sure Ballycastle is County Donegal, but I might be wrong. My geography of which town is in which county is is very, very good once I kind of stay south of the border. Once I start going into kind
Yeah,
of
they're all from
north.
above Nace and Cork. That's all we really care
Well,
about.
yeah, it's hard to be from below Cork, to be fair. Buzz, we are going to quickly go live, Evan, as the lights go out. We go racing once again at Interlagos for the final time as Robbie Callahan leads us off the line into the opening set of corners. Slightly caught out by that one. Normally, Evan would lead you off the line there, but Robbie's managed to lead the rest of the pack through turn one and has already is carved out a 6/10 gap as we see some accident in the background. That's Sean McClements again involved. I think Sean McClements getting caught up in some difficulties there in the background as we see Sean McGoldrick, or sorry, Robbie Callahan leading the pack, and there's a whole gaggle of cars coming down here the back straight, Evan, as we set say for this feature race. A big move there. That's from one of the Coopers and a big accident. That could, I'm not sure whether that's Jason or Luke, but a big accident there between a DDR car and one of the Coopers.
It was Dylan.
It was Dylan.
The best to start, but was still up 5 positions before the timing tower went down. The best to start, but was still up 5 positions before the timing tower went down. Now up 10 positions once the timing tower comes back on. So bit of radio commentary here, I think, Kevin. But it is Robbie Callahan who leads, Sean McGoldrick second. Then it is Jason Cooper, Conor Melia, Rory O'Shea up 2 spots and ahead of Jason Smith. So wasn't able to get ahead of him in race number 1 and 2, but he is now ahead. Now needs to try and plant it on all the apexes. Brandon McCaughan is trying to diminish his woes. He's up 7 spots to 10th position.
Yeah, Sean up 10, as you say. So great result for him thus far, but big loser as well as Theo Lestrange. She's down 4 places. Ronan Darty, of course, down 2. But Robbie Callahan still holding front position here, so could potentially be a fantastic result for the number 7 car. And I think, Evan, if he does hold on to that, we will have a potential driver of the day on our hands.
Yes, Robbie Callahan doing really, really well. Remember, I know we've spoken about it already, but Logan Hoy was able to get out in front and control Heat 3 when he started on pole last season. Robbie Callahan looking to do something very similar. Robbie, of course, didn't really feature much in the LMP2s, did take a podium, but it was the Formula Vs where he really came onto our radar. 3 wins, 4 podiums, I think all coming late into the second half of the season. So Robbie continuing on his single-seater form, and definitely a nominee for the driver today. Folks, once this race ends, make sure to get your nominees in for the Gantry TV driver of the day.
Absolutely. We're going to be back live with you very, very shortly as our technical teams are working on an issue that we have. So we're hoping to get back to it very shortly, but we will try and keep you updated as best as we can. And as we look, it is indeed Darby Callahan still leads Sean McGoldrick, then Jason Cooper in third position. So I wonder, was it brother Luke that got caught up in that incident with Dylan McGoldrick? And it's interesting to see the 2 brothers being involved as we go back live here. Thank you very much to Ronan in the broadcast booth for getting that sorted so quickly for us. Very short period of time, and thankfully it's the feature race. There's still plenty left in this one here at Interlagos, and we see Sean McGoldrick putting plenty of pressure on Robbie Callahan. Obviously, no doubt aware that he has Jason Cooper and Conor Melia and Rory O'Shea behind him. 3 really quick drivers that these 2 now have to try and fend off for the next 16 minutes.
Yeah, really phenomenal job by Ronan to fly to Brazil, plug back in the cable, get back over and get that back on air so quickly. Robbie Callahan is looking to fly around the Brazilian circuit here and just stay in front of Jason Cooper. It's going to be a tough ask, but Jason Cooper, I tell you what, Kevin, it would be some way to come back to RTA, get sent down the back of the grid in race number 1 and somehow win race number 3. That really would be impressive.
Yeah, it would be really, really impressive, in fairness. From Jason, and that would certainly be an outside shout for driver of the day as well, depending on whether Robbie can hold on here at Interlagos. But it's been a very frenetic start, slightly calmed down now over the time. Another shout as well, Sergey Grabin. He's up to 13th position, only just behind Sean McClements, putting pressure on McClements as well. Currently in Luxembourg, Sergey, originally from Vilnius in Lithuania, spent 11 years in Ireland, and of course, very long time driver in old series, Digital Motorsports and RTA, but of course also VRA as well. So plenty of racing experience Sergey has in this league, and it's brilliant to see him back now. He said that the open wheelers aren't really his thing. That he's kind of just taking a punt here by jumping into the F4 series, and he hopes it goes well. But he's making a very good account for himself. Obviously caught up in that opening incident in the first race, unfortunately, but giving himself a great opportunity now to finish within the top 10 of this feature race. As Robbie Callan still now trying to fend off Jason Cooper as Jason goes for a move down the inside. Robbie now switches back to the inside for this next series of corners, and that's what I mean about this last section. It's kind of one way and the other, so Evan, it makes it very difficult to make a move stick.
Absolutely, as Robbie Callahan goes round, heading through the Ducks Bill, and that's going to drop him to 7th position. It gives the lead to Sean McGoldrick. Jason Cooper has actually lost out in that one, so it is McGoldrick now who leads here in RTA. It's been quite some time since Sean McGoldrick did lead an RTA race. His last win coming ages ago, didn't really race much in the LMP2s, just like Robbie Callahan, so Sean McGoldrick would love to take this one, but I think Rory O'Shea has other plans, already pulling to the outside in the high pre. O'Shea to make the move stick in towards turn number 1.
Yeah, big move there from Rory O'Shea. You can see him on camera again. It's so like, it's so hard to appreciate how much mental capacity it takes for, and you can actually you could see it there on Rory's face. He's concentrating so hard, and it's just such little movements, such the smallest of movements can make such a big difference. As you can see him there grappling with the wheel, almost lost it there. I think he got a loss of traction and had to fight it again. And a lot of these guys running setups that are very much on the edge to extract the maximum pace, because you can be as fast as you want in the infield, but once you start getting up and over the hill across the line, if you're losing out in pace, you're going to get done on turn 1. So Rory tried to stick to the back of Sean McClemens, but he's made a slight error there, but I think he's going to get away with it, as that's a Team DDR car going down the inside of Jason Cooper and making that stick as well. So Cooper now, having previously been in with a chance of being in first place, has just been overtaken, and now he runs in P4. So himself and Ronan Doherty having a good ding-dong battle. It looks like Doherty is slightly behind Jason Smith as well. So lots of these guys have lots of experience winning, lots of previous RTA championship winners among this top 5, but it is Sean McGoldrick who leads with a good gap as well between Rory O'Shea and Jason Smith. So if these two guys work together, you can be sure Jason Smith won't be trying to work alongside Ronan Doherty. These two guys are going to battle it out outright. So if Rory and Sean can work together, they might be able to kind of excavate a good lead. But as I say that, Sean goes for a move. Rory, should I say, goes for a move around the outside. He's going to make it stick down the inside through the Senna S. And finally, after 3 races of waiting for the last hour and a half, Rory O'Shea has tried to lead an RTA F4 championship race. He finally is in the lead. Let's see if he can make it stick, Evan.
Yes, Jason Cooper, who's looking to try and take it off him, dives down the inside of Sean McGoldrick. Job done for Jason Smith. Ronan Doherty, I think, has just been able to get through as well. And yes, they're actually free abreast heading through the corner. So it looks like Jason Cooper is going to try the outside line as well and get up to 4th position. Jason, of course, remember, started on that 2nd row, so he's not made much of an advancement, which goes to show just how scrappy this leader fight has been. Robbie Callahan, despite having a bit of a spin, still well within contention here, and of course he had very strong pace in the opening 2 heats, so don't count him out just yet. But it is Rory O'Shea up 6, Jason Smith up 6, Ronan Doherty up 3. The reverse grid hasn't really worked this time round, because we usually get a right old shuffle up of the field, but it's the same top 3 from heat 1 and heat 2 here after 9 minutes in Brazil.
Yeah, it's a pity, because Sean and Robbie were in a great position to try and control the field, but just unfortunately, I suppose Robbie making that mistake actually kind of opened the door for other cars to mount a challenge on Sean. He was slightly protected a little bit, or Robbie was slightly protected by Sean, really, because both of them are running around the same pace, and it was going to be very difficult for them both to get past us. We have an alternative look at the standings.
Was that WEC graphics?
It was a bit of a WEC one, yeah. Just
Yeah.
a bit of a preview of what potentially we might have down in the background. But not to worry. We are sticking with what we have at the moment. and it is Sean McGoldrick who is unfortunately lost out. He's in P6 at the moment, but Rory O'Shea, I think Rory's, if he can hold on here, this win would be very well deserved for the 81 High Prix car, because he has done pretty much everything he can to try and get past Jason Smith. Now the hunter has become the hunted. Let's see if Rory can hold him off.
I tell you, another driver who is driving like a raging bull, that is Sean McClements. He's up 18 positions and currently sits in 9th position. So after a tricky end to heat number 2, a tricky start to heat number 3, he is really gaining. Fastest lap of the race does belong to Ronan Doherty within these top 3, but they're not really separated by much, Kevin. It could go any way at this point.
Yeah, it could go very, very anyway, and it is really of, again, trying to manage tires. Interesting that we heard in the interval there between the two races that the tires don't seem to go off as quickly on these F4 cars as they do in the LMP2s, so that gives them guys more of a chance to try and nurse them around the track. They don't have to be as what would I say, conservative as they would be otherwise. They can lean on them a little bit more. But yeah, definitely an opportunity for any one of these guys to potentially make a mistake or to make a daring move and to try and make it stick, because it's going to take something. You're not going to just kind of tootle around and wait for somebody to just hand you the position. You do have to work extremely hard when you're up the top. As Logan Hoey tries to go for a move around the outside, he makes it happen there against Martin McGonigal, and he's chasing down Josh Henry, who was caught up in that really nasty incident in the last race that saw Emma Dempsey pushed way down the grid. David Prunty now in P21 as we go back to the front, and Rory O'Shea leading that train of 3, and it seems that Ronan Doherty is starting to gap Jason Cooper a little bit. Jason obviously involved in that, but he has been left a little bit isolated there in that 4th position. He's a good gap between himself and Conor Melia behind him, but unfortunately between himself and Ronan Doherty there is a bit of a gap. However, in saying that, there are 3 cars here. All of them want to finish first. One of them is going to make a move at some point, and Jason will feature if he can keep clean at the end of the race for a P1 place. Whether he can make it happen, I'm not sure. But Logan Hoy going for that move now, and Josh Henry down the inside. But Josh going to be back down the inside himself. A little bit of a lock up there in the left rear. It's a difficult corner. Your kind of camber is changing as you're going into the braking zone there. Very difficult for these F4 cars to try and keep him. As Martin McGonigal has had a problem. He was running further up the field, but an issue for Martin in the 30 car, in the Benson Hedges painted car. Unfortunately, he seems to have an issue there, and he's fallen down the field. Then we go back now to the top 3, and again, these 3 seem to be working together. Not a huge amount of overtaking at the moment. We do have 7 minutes left, which equates to around about 5 laps, maybe 4 or 5 laps, depending on when they cross the line. So an opportunity still knocking for the likes of Ronan Doherty, Jason Smith to go after Rory O'Shea. But you can see there, Ronan, he had the run on Jason, but he decided to hold off, just play it smart, and maybe try and launch an attack late on.
Yeah, seems like the slipstream is going to be big on the last lap for who gets that, as Ronan Doherty actually, nope, says, no, I'm going for the move now. Goes for the move on Jason Smith, and Smith on the outside. We've seen a lot of drivers try to move in through here, but not necessarily get it done. You kind of have to commit through the next 4 or 5 corners if you want to be able to make it stick. And yet, you can see there, Jason Smith able to defend once again. A lot of great fights around the field, including that one between Logan Hoy and Joshua Henry, the man from Drogheda against the man from Inver I believe. Thankfully, a very good motorsport fight, because it would be a terrible game of interprovincial football. A lot of fights as well lower than that. I think Dylan McClements is trying to claw in Diarmuid Toomey and sort of that pack to gain what he can. And then, of course, you had some who had troubled starts to maybe the evening, but are recovering well now in the form of David Prunty, Rich Murphy, Jared Thornton. They're all up double-digit positions. Here is Ronan Doherty going for the move on Jason Smith into, or trying to go for the move, I should say, on Jason Smith in towards the first corner, and just not able to get it done. A little bit further back though, Sean McGoldrick has been overtaken by Conor Melia. Melia up to 5th position and back to his best here, it seems, in RTA.
Yeah, Connor's really gone in the run. He's up 3 places overall, but as you said, making up places for fun, as Luke Cooper now caught in a battle with Sergey Grabin. Theo Lestrange at the front of that side, and Hutchings as well having a look, and Sergey is going to have a picture of concentration on his face. He's wearing the VR headset tonight, so you won't be able to see his eyes, but you'll no doubt see him working extremely hard to try and get that number 5 car around. You can see him there, just like he's just super still, trying to be as predictable as he can on the round wheel there. He's not running a Formula wheel as we've seen the likes of Roy O'Shea running. He's on the fully circular wheel, really old style there, kind of an old McLaren-esque, as he is just, you can see just a concentration, but very relaxed actually. Interesting to see Sergey. There's no kind of, you know, like you don't see any major facial expressions or huge kind of reactions. Just the one very creepy smiley face made out of tape on the left hand side. That's pretty much the only
Oh,
expression that I can actually see. But other than that, Sergey is keeping a very almost sinister, now that I think of that smiley
that's
face,
quite scary.
picture of concentration. I don't know if he's put that up there on purpose or if he's accidentally given away where he's hidden all the bodies. I'm not entirely sure,
Oh
but
dear.
he is keeping a very straight face anyway. Sergey Graben, of course, that's a joke. I think that needs to go. It doesn't need to be said. Anyway, we're on to Brandon McGaughan, for battling with Robbie Calla and Sean McClemens. I think for the McClemens brothers, it's been a really disappointing evening, hasn't it? Particularly for Dylan, Evan.
Yeah, it has. And it's not really either their fault. Sean has done a really good job of fighting back here to pick up what points he can. But Dylan had a, I'm not going to say lackluster heat number 1, because we kind of have an exceptional standard that we have come to expect. He had a pretty decent heat 1, didn't finish on the podium. And then heat 2, obviously, we saw him fighting for the podium and then get collected. And heat 3, we saw an incident heading through turn number 4 in the opening lap. Here's Robbie Callahan and Brandon McCaughan, though. Speaking of that heat 2 incident, and McCaughan is going to have to try defend the long way here. Robbie Callahan dives it down the inside. Pretty decent move there for Robbie, but not going to be able to pull it off. This is Jason Smith and Ronan Doherty, who go scrapping once again. We're at the business end of heat number 3. Less than 3 minutes to go, and Rory O'Shea is fighting to win his first RTA race since the Super Formula Lights season, which was 4 seasons ago at this point. Jason Smith just trying to defend from Ronan Doherty behind. These two have had many a fight across those 4 seasons, and Doherty is going to go for the outside line here on Jason Smith. Jason Cooper just sitting pretty behind. This reminds us of the battles in the Formula Ford campaign, and as they go bouncing their way through, there's a bit of contact made between Ronan Doherty and Jason Smith. He's shot offline. Cooper now is able to fly through. It's going to be Jason versus Jason down towards turn number 4 and 5. No move on this time, however.
Yeah, this is definitely going to come to a crescendo, though, between these three. There's no inch given or taken from any of these 3 guys. And for Rory O'Shea, this is a perfect position for him to be in. As you said, it's been a while since we've seen Rory O'Shea on the top step of the podium here at RTA, but this is a great opportunity for him, because all he has to do is keep himself clean. He can pretty much bank that these 3 guys of Jason Smith, Jason Cooper, and Ronan Doherty are going to go at it hammer and tongs. They're not going to give each other an inch, and it doesn't really matter that, you know, there's no going to be, well, we'll work to get towards this. It's every man for himself at this point. We're going to have one last lap. I expect the white flag to be waved as we pass by the start finish line for the last time. As we see, goes just as a lap car in the background. Don't worry too much about that as the leaders pass by. But yeah, it's going to be hammer and tongs now between Smith, Cooper, and Doherty as to see who can get the maximum amount of points for the coming season. But you have to think, we've talked about, as we see the white flag being waved there, of course, in the background. You have to remember that, as we said, Ronan Doherty got into the pits. I wonder, has he had a network issue? I wonder, has Ronan... No, he's gone into the pits. Has Ronan been given a drive-through penalty as he hit that 15X? We didn't expect it to be an issue, but it seems that Ronan has hit that 15X, Evan, and unfortunately the penalty has come to bite him in the backside. So when there were 4, now there are 3, with 2 locked in a really intense battle as we head towards the rest of the lap for final time. Sorry.
Yes, it's not going to be an evening to remember for the most part for Team DDR. Sean McClemens trying to salvage something of it with a move around the outside of Robbie Callahan. He's really had impressive pace. Battle up the front is 3.5 tenths of a second between O'Shea and Smith as there goes Sean McClemens past Robbie Callahan. Really, really impressive. Rory O'Shea just has a couple more corners to hold on and he's doing a good job of it. It's going to be a drag race towards the line, it seems, reminiscent of the slower single-seater seasons that we ran in the recent past. Just has to get through Yunsao okay, get good exit, and then he might be able to crown himself an RTA winner once again. That's a decent run through there, Rory. And on the
He's
camera,
already
look, you can
celebrating.
see the excitement start to build. Rory O'Shea rounds through the final corner. The fist pumps are waving. He said he prefers the single-seaters. Rory O'Shea is fantastic in the single-seaters. He wins an RTA race once again. It's Heat 3 at Interlagos to start the F4 season. Jason Smith finishes in the pit lane, it seems. Jason Cooper comes home in third. Brandon McCaughton will take fourth ahead of Sean McClemens in fifth. But what a moment for the first ever faced cameraed race here on Gantry TV. The man we chose to showcase wins it.
Yeah, and it's brilliant to see Rory. She was celebrating coming out of the final corner. I couldn't get over how quickly, once he got through John Sao, okay, he knew that he had it in the bag. All he had to do was keep the right foot pinned and keep it out of the wall. And congratulations to Rory O'Shea, because he really has deserved that. He's been all over the back of Jason Smith for 2 races and finally manages to hold off the number 26 car and win a race of his own. So 3 brand new, well, not brand new winners, but 3 winners that we hadn't seen take the top step of a podium for, in Jason Smith's case, the last couple of weeks of the last championship. In Rory O'Shea's case, certainly the last number of seasons. And I wonder, Jason Smith, as we see Jared Thornton crossing the line alongside Rich Murphy, Dylan McClements, poor old Dylan McClements, all the way down in P27. A really unfortunate evening for Dylan. He's had such a good, unforgettable, you'd say, night the last time we were here, but unfortunately, that is sport, and it goes up for you and it goes down for you sometimes as we look at the feature results. But of course, interesting to see there is a name missing there for a very good reason, Evan, and that is that of Jason Smith.
It is. He finished in the pit lane. I'm not really sure what the issue was, but Jason Smith and Ronan Doherty both had to take trips to the pits late on in that race. I think TJ Taff actually received a disqualification as well, somewhere within that 20 minutes, but I'm not too sure what that was for. But it is Rory O'Shea who wins ahead of Jason Cooper in second. What a drive by Jason Cooper, by the way, to come back to second across all 3 races. Brandon McCaughton as well, very impressive to third, as Sean McClemens in fourth. Ronan gets fifth in the end, ahead of Robbie Callahan in sixth, Conor Melia in seventh, Theo Lestrange in eighth, Sergey Graben in ninth. Great race for Sergey. Luke Cooper in 10th, and it's Simon Hutchings, Sean McGoldrick, Logan Hoy, Andrew Murphy. Jason Smith falls to 15th, ahead of Martin McGonigal, Brian McCarthy, and David Prunty. Then a little bit further down, we have Jacob Hobbs, Jared Thornton, Rich Murphy, Tony Stack, Philip Upson, Dermot Toomey, Kevin Joyce, Joshua Henry, Dylan McClements down in 27th position. I don't think I've ever said that sentence. Ken Doyle in 28th, Jamal Grandor 29th, and it was TJ Taff, Joao Castro, Dara Halley, Finley Melvin, Emma Dempsey, and Peter Duke. Let's hear from the race winner, Rory O'Shea, then, after his impressive drive here in Heat 3 at Brazil. Hello, Rory, can you hear me?
I can't.
We saw a lot of fist pumps when exiting that final corner. How delighted are you to win once again here in RTA?
Oh, it feels like a long time since I won a feature race. I think after definitely a difficult couple of seasons, especially to get it done over Jason, Ronan, and Jason. Yeah, I can't remember who he even was. Yeah, it's really delighted with that. Like, cause you know, I was kind of set high expectations for myself this season with the car, and I was really delighted to get it done. Sorry.
Yeah, we're past the watershed, don't worry. You had to do the attacking in heat number 1 and heat number 2. You got the opportunity to defend for a change after being stuck behind Jason Smith for what must have felt like an eternity. Were you confident that you were able to hold on to this one?
Yeah, it looked like Jason had a little bit of damage. I think he had contact with Connor at some point earlier in the race, so it definitely looked like he was down a tenth or two on pace. But I think I got lucky that he kind of pushed with me towards the start, and then him and Ronan started battling, and then I was able to pull away just a little bit. And I think they had some coming together maybe the last lap or two, and I know the lads got penalties now. So once the last few laps came, I was actually pretty confident that I'd be able to get it over the line.
The season on a whole, then, Rory. I don't want to put too much pressure, but going by the pace tonight, it seems like you might have championship ambitions.
Oh yeah, of course. I think but I'm not the only one. There's probably another 8 lads who want it. I'm sure Dylan wants to retain his title, and a few more lads want to win another one. So even if I do have ambitions, it's really not going to be easy.
Rory, thank you very much for joining us. It was
Thank you.
fantastic to see that win with the face camera. Myself and Kevin really enjoyed it.
Yeah, cheers.
Now over to Kevin to speak to the now second place man, Jason Cooper.
Yeah, it's a real pleasure to be joined again by a man who I've spoken to in the past, and always a pleasure to have a chat with him because it means that he's had a good result, which is what we're kind of used to seeing from you, Jason Cooper. Now, I suppose it's been a bit of an interesting evening for you. Welcome back, by the way, this time on Gantry TV. We were just speaking to our race winner, Rory O'Shea, who had a fantastic drive over the course of the year. He was talking that there are a number of guys up for the championship. I imagine you are one of those I would have put near the top of my list, but obviously a kind of a difficult start. Can you talk us through, first of all, kind of like the race, your opening race, how it all started, and then maybe how you managed to climb your way back up through to finish in a really, really respectable second place?
Yeah, it's good to be back. It's been probably a year now since I last raced with you guys, so yeah, it's nice to be back. Yeah, qualifying started off really badly. I absolutely messed that right up. Started back in the pack, someone spun in front of me at turn 2. I had nowhere to go, got rear-ended, car was in the bin. So yeah, race 1 was garbage, and then race 2, I think I came 22nd to, I can't remember what it was now, was it 6th or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah, and then obviously that put me at the front for the last one. Unfortunately, Robbie spun in front of me, and I got a bit of front wing damage. But luckily, I stayed on the back of the guys in front and pulled away from the rest. And I think there was a couple of incident limits they went over. I just caught Jason on that last lap and knocked him wide. Didn't realise he was so close to the limit. He must have been driving a bit steady with only 1x to go or something.
Because it was interesting. You guys were in a chain of 3, and I felt that actually Ronan behind you was kind of easing off, and Jason as well. And we were wondering, were you trying to potentially mount a sort of an attack on Roy? But as it turns out, they were both near their incident limit. So for you, it was just a case of, it's funny, isn't it, how sometimes you say race 1 was garbage, which, by your standards, it was. By anyone's standards, it would have been, unfortunately, not to any big fault of your own. But in a way, it makes the game plan clearer, doesn't it? Because really, then it's just a case of surviving what goes on around you, and inevitably you will end up with the grid.
Yeah, luckily got through on that second race, which obviously made for an interesting third race. I would have been a bit frustrated if race 2 had gone badly as well, because there's not much chance to get back through after that. But yeah, that was a good evening. Enjoyed it. Look forward to next week.
And you're, of course, before we let you go, you're not the only Swift Cooper car in the grid. Very interesting to see Luke battling as well. I think he was caught up in a bit of an incident with Dylan McClements earlier on. Very nice to have 2 sets of racing brothers, of course, the McClements brothers and yourselves. Does it change the dynamic being on a grid with your brother?
No, Luke hadn't been on iRacing for ages, so I managed to rope him into it, and he didn't do any practice. He just jumped on tonight, so I think he's done quite well tonight, considering.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there is always a sibling rivalry which ousts anything else. They talk about teammate rivalry. I don't think anything beats a sibling rivalry, so I'm sure he'll be one.
He beats me in real life, and I beat him on this. I think he evens out.
Well, look, you're the king of your own domains, and fantastic final race. Jason, look, congratulations. I know it's obviously overall maybe disappointing, particularly given the opening race, but a superb drive to get back to P2. And it takes real skill and guile to do that. So congratulations. I'm really looking forward to seeing you next week again.
Yeah, cheers, guys. I'll see you next week.
So yeah, great to hear from Jason Cooper. It turns out the sibling rivalry isn't as much of a thing as we expected, and now we get to hear from the most interestingly numbered and perhaps most interestingly
I was
livered
wondering when you were going to bring it up.
car. Well, yeah, somebody's bringing something up if it's 69.
Yeah, not the
Brandon McGaughan.
19-year-old in the commentary box, Kevin.
Well, I'll leave you to take Brandon McGaughan and ask him why he decided.
I just want to say one thing to you, Kevin, actually. We keep hyping up these brotherly rivalries when it turns out they're all very nice to each other. I don't like it. We need to get we need to get a proper scrap in.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, 100%.
Anyways, Brandon, congratulations on the podium in heat number 3. But first, gonna just cast our eyes quickly back to heat number 2. Bit of an incident involving yourself and the two McClemenses that unfortunately brought an end to the unbelievable top 10 streak.
Yeah, was a pity, but to be fair, I was racing hard. Like me and Sean were going door to door for the lap before, and then turn 1, I got on the inside curb, got a slide, and then game over. But sure, it happens. Like it was really close. Like you're racing wheel to wheel in these cars. It's easy done.
Then, of course, we're moving back to the single-seaters. It's your first single-seater season here in RTA, but you've driven both tin tops and single-seaters in real life. Is an F4 car more to your fancy than an LMP2, maybe? Because I know you had some success in GB4, of course.
Yeah, probably would be. It's just tricky to get onto the brakes on iRacing. They're very sensitive in the F4 cars as compared to real life. But I would definitely say pace-wise, F4's more suited to me. Probably I've done more single-seater racing in real life, and as well on iRacing, I've probably had more time in single-seaters, so it goes in my favour.
Then the season as a whole, of course, very impressive from you last season to finish in 4th. Is it just another top 5 you're looking for, or is there something maybe a little bit bigger?
Yeah, see how it goes really, see how the pace is each weekend. Wasn't that great of a points haul here, but not awful at the same time. So see how it goes. I would like a top 3, but that just depends. Obviously there's a lot higher of a chance of incidents in F4 than there was in LMP2. So hopefully no low scoring weekends after this one, and we'll be in contention.
Brandon, thank you very much for joining us. We're going to let you go. Enjoy your evening.
Cheers.
So great to hear from the podium there, Kevin. Now it's the difficult time where we have to pick a driver of the day.
Yeah, and it's funny actually. Oftentimes we kind of come to an agreement fairly easily on this, but we actually I would say there were three outstanding candidates. You've obviously Jason Cooper, who we just spoke to, who came from basically right down the back to finish up in second in the final race of the evening. You have Robbie Callahan, who had a great, I suppose, consistent run in the number 7 car right throughout the evening, and sporting the gantry logo on his front nose cone, which is always going to he's always going to score him some extra bonus points from Robbie. And then we also have Rory O'Shea, who joined us. We saw the fist bump from the high pre car, 2 second place finishes and winning out the day in the feature race. 3 excellent choices. So I'm just going to, before we renounce our winner, we want to say Johnny Hollywood has opted for Rory. He said he's barely put a foot wrong tonight. Johnny also said honorable mention for Jason Cooper, two top 10s, including
just quickly,
podium.
Kevin. Sorry to butt in there, but Johnny sent me a photo. Oh, sorry, I think I've lagged. Sorry, that was a disaster. We'll try that again. Sorry to butt in there, Kevin. Johnny sent me a photo just before the stream started tonight, saying he was tuning in from the hospital. So just from myself and yourself, Kevin, I think we want to give Johnny just a quick get well soon, and we hope you're back racing with us soon, Johnny. So big thanks for tuning in tonight and for getting your Driver of the Day nominees in.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I'm glad you dropped me now to say that, Evan, and absolutely, Johnny. it's nice that we were able to entertain you here, and I hope you enjoyed the updated broadcast, and for everyone else as well, from wherever you're watching from. Hopefully, not like Johnny in a hospital bed, but hopefully that won't be for very long. And yeah, it would be great to have you back on the grid soon. But yeah, Evan, I suppose we've come to a decision. And we've gone with your nomination, I think it's fair to say. So maybe you might let us know who our driver of the day is and why.
Rory O'Shea, phenomenal performance, wins for the first time in 4 seasons, and obliged with the new Gantry TV camera policy. I think that gets a little bit of a bonus, but yeah, Rory, really, really impressive stuff tonight. I think that's his best RTA performance potentially ever. I know I wasn't around when he won the 3 championships, so he could have blown everyone out of the water, but certainly since I've been here, I think that's the best we've seen Rory O'Shea for quite some time. He said he has experience with the F4 car very recently, so that helps. But Rory O'Shea in the infamous High Prix is your Gantry TV driver today for round 1.
So that basically brings us to a conclusion here at Interlagos. Thank you so much for joining us. We really hope you've enjoyed the new stream. Obviously, lots of new elements we've introduced. There's been a hell of a lot of work from us here, and particularly Ronan Hederman in the background, who's been doing phenomenal work. We're just sending him stuff, and he's having to find places to put it and to make sure it all makes sense, whilst also trying to look after everything he already does. So great work from Ronan, and to yourself, Evan, for all the background work in terms of all the driver information. A reminder, of course, do give us a subscribe, do give us a like as well, and let us know what's going on. We talked about the calendar earlier on. Next week, we go to Donington Park. So we will be heading to Donington Park, which is a superb circuit, another real iconic circuit for those who love the old Toka Touring Championship game on the PS1. That's a real iconic circuit for that. But yeah, does really well with tin tops, does well with closed wheels, does well with open wheels. So that'll be a fantastic one. So it will be 8 o'clock. Sorry, what should I say? 8 o'clock, 8:45. Next week, as always. For those who joining us, remember you can go to rtamotorsport.com and get all of the updates there as well. And do give us a like and subscribe, and yeah, just share the word now that the new stream is out and that we were introducing all these really new and exciting developments. So it's a goodbye from Brazil for the second time in 2 weeks. Unfortunately for Dylan McClements, it didn't turn out to be the final that he was hoping for, but had last year's championship rival Jason Cooper, it certainly was redemption in the home of Christ the Redeemer. Whilst we saw Rory O'Shea back to his best, this championship is set to be a fantastic one. From myself, Kevin Galvin, and indeed Evan Dalton, with Ronan Hederman in the back, all of us here at Gantry TV, thank you so much for watching us, and until next week, slán go fóill.